Hello and welcome to the Healthified Mother podcast. My name is Corey Dugan and I'm your host for today. And here beside me is my lovely wife, Christy. And this is our first episode of the Healthified Mother podcast. So bear with us as we are brand new in this podcasting sphere. We have a little bit of experience creating videos and making recordings, but doing a podcast is new for us, so bear with us. Also, we have 10 children. They are right outside the door. They will make noise from time to time, and please excuse us as we are a living and thriving family of 12. That's 10 children and ourselves, and we're not doing this outside of the home because as the goal being a healthified family, we're trying to be integrated and have our business be a part of our family's life, so to speak. So anyways, let me tell you a little bit about myself and who I am. I grew up in Arizona, and I met my wife in 2007. I followed her up to Alaska, and we got married in 2008. And I lived in Alaska with her for 15 years before moving back down here to Arizona 2 years ago. And in that time frame of us having been married for 15 years, we have had 10 children together. And I've been an entrepreneur for our whole marriage. And here we are on a new entrepreneurial endeavor, creating and founding the healthifiedmother.com and the Healthified Mother podcast. So that's a little bit about me. Christy, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
I'm Christy Dugan. I am a teacher. I'm a homeschool mom. I'm an artist. I grew up in Alaska with 8 siblings. So my parents had 9 kids. My family worked hard. My dad was a judge with a million side businesses, so I learned how to do a little bit of everything: construction, cleaning rooms, running various businesses and real estate and all sorts of things. So also an entrepreneurial spirit, and I am founding this Healthified Mother business to help moms find joy and happiness in their lives and enjoy being a mom.
All right. And like the Healthified Mother, like as a title, like when did we start talking about that? It was like, I feel like it was 2015. Do you remember?
Yeah. My sister-in-law and I ran health challenges. So you'd get points for drinking water. You'd get points for avoiding empty
Facebook
calories.
health challenges, I remember.
Yeah, we'd you just got points for trying to live a healthier life. And we mentioned at one point, like, we're just trying to help people like healthify their lives. And so we ended up calling it the Healthified Life. And then when we kind of disbanded and didn't do those anymore, life got busy. Anyway, then I started creating, doing what I'm doing now, and I called it the Healthified Mother.
Yeah, you started specifically trying to help women and mothers, right?
Right. So that was around 2018. So yeah, it's been a while since we've been on this healthified journey, but yeah.
And what can you define the healthified life, the healthified mother? Can you get kind of, what does that mean to you?
So trying your best, that's all you can do, right? Trying your best to learn and implement new things to be healthier, happier. 4 pillars: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. Trying to make your life healthier in those 4 areas. So that could mean, connecting with God, connection with yourself, your emotions, feeling peace, mindset stuff, helping your mind to be in a place where you're looking forward to the future and happy and present in the now. And then physically, nutrition, exercise, doing parenting, all of that physical stuff that is also a part of life.
Right. And so you've been doing this for a few years now, helping women, helping mothers with pregnancy, with motherhood in general. But what's different about now? Like why is now different from what you were doing 6 months or a year ago? Like what's different about now moving forward?
So in the past, I've done a lot of one-on-one work with people, and that was great. It helped them. It was good. I enjoyed it, but it limited my resources, right? There's only so many hours in the day. So I'm trading my time for that, helping them out. And it's just individual. I can help one person an hour or whatever, right? So we have switched up our model of how we're running the Healthified Mother to record sessions that can help thousands of women a day at a time. Anyone who logs on to our website and watches a session, they can receive some of that help that I would be giving one-on-one, but now they can do it, in different time zones on their own time. I was super limited as a homeschool mom with 10 kids. My time was super limited. So I had a lot of clients who wanted my help, and I had to turn them down because I just don't have that many hours in the day. So this way, I feel like I can reach a broader audience. I can help more people, and and get that message of healthifying your life out there.
And I can totally attest to that, just having witnessed over the last few years of you operating as the Healthified Mother. There was this, a huge swell of desire to help women, and you'd allocate time, and then you'd get, after a while, feel overburdened because like everything's a trade-off, and so you felt like you were trading off time with the children, and so you'd scale back, and then sometimes you weren't even doing it at all, and then the desire would come back. No, I want to help more women. And so I can definitely attest to the model we're creating now is one that will free you up in your time, but also just allow the influence and the things that we've learned and you've learned to help more women. So, all right. So what is it that motivates you when it comes to helping women? What is behind your motivation?
I want to see everybody succeed and feel happy and joy. And I see a lot of moms who are struggling with depression, anxiety. They feel overwhelmed. They feel like they can't do what they want to do. They feel like they're not good enough. And I want to help them feel confident, empowered, happy, strength. I want them to enjoy motherhood without feeling burnout and overwhelm and I'm not good enough. Nobody's good enough. And as a Christian, that's why we have our Savior. And I'm so grateful for that. We don't have to be good enough, but there are some things we can do and some things we can change in our mindset and in how we are interacting with our family to find joy and happiness, to feel confident and empowered instead of feeling burnt out and overwhelmed. So that's what drives me, is just sorry, being able to share that with others. I want them to be able to find that and receive that. Do I feel that every day? No. But when I apply what I've learned, yeah, it works. So when I'm in a funk, when things aren't working, I can step back and say, you know what? I know what to do to fix this. And I want to share that with other people.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And one of the things, like when I'm telling people about you and your work, I find that I often go back to like me as your husband, witnessing I'll say progression of your motherhood from having our first child our oldest child, who's 14 now, to 9 births later, you've had this progression of knowledge, wisdom, and through your study, through your diligent study, like when you're pregnant, when you're not pregnant, getting ready to be pregnant again. Because well, I guess we should say it, like, we're not done having kids yet either. Like, when we got married, we both said we wanted to have 12 kids, and so we're not there, right? So you knew from the beginning, like, this is gonna, I'm in it for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
And so you were trying to make the next pregnancy better. You were trying to make the next delivery even better than the last one. And I just kind of witnessed this progression, and I got dragged into it, right? Like, I was like, yeah, you take care of your thing. And like, yeah, you got me into it. Like, I am a part of the process, not just for the beginning, right? Like, I'm a part of the whole entire process, and you brought me in. Granted, I'm still not perfect, and there's still things for me to learn to help more in the whole process of not just pregnancy and birth, but also learning to be a better father. And I call it, my goal is to be an exceptionally good father. So I'm trying to learn exceptionally good fatherhood. That's my goal. What does that mean? I'm still figuring that out, right? And so anyways, can you talk about that progression in the last 15 years?
Yeah, so I think I started off, I've always had kind of a more holistic mindset. My parents were raised differently. My dad was military, so he was very dependent on doctors, had, health care covered, lots of benefits, etc. My mom grew up on a farm, and with parents who were, like, oh, go put a Band-Aid on it, like, pull up your socks. It's not a big deal. Here's some tea. And so I was raised somewhere in the middle of that. And I leaned more toward the holistic side of, well, if there's food that can heal this, if there's herbs that can help, if there's things I can do, with my mind and whatever to shift my health and wellness, then I'm going to go there versus paying a lot of money to professionals who may or may not be able to help me. And I saw that with my dad a lot. He would go to the doctors and he'd come home and say, they didn't do anything for me. They couldn't do anything for me. And so I watched my mom, especially with my last sister. She almost died. She had a really not good experience. She got sepsis after her C-section, and basically the doctors told her, go home and die. We can't help you here. There's nothing more we can do. And she wasn't okay with that response. And she went to the health food store. She said, here's what I'm dealing with. What can you do for me? And the lady behind the counter was very helpful, very knowledgeable, and said, well, here's, a handful of things that I think would help. And my mom had to come down off a drug addiction from what they had given her in the hospital. And that was really awful for her. But she went through this process of learning to heal herself through what God has already put on this earth in a natural form. So I watched that and I said, I want to do that. I want my births and things to be on that side of the spectrum versus the other. And so when I started out, I had my first 2 babies in the hospital, thinking that's what everybody does. That's the safe place. That's where you want to have your babies, because anywhere else might be scary and dangerous. And
And pause for a second. Like, I want to say on that point, like, I don't know why I expected this, but when we were having our first, especially our first child, our oldest child, and we were at the hospital, like, I was expecting, because your mom was present, and she just sat there and like nodded her head, like whenever you had like, oh, this is what's happening, and she would just be like, like, no words of advice, no, like, I was just like,
help.
Aren't you supposed to help? You had 9 children before. Like, why you don't have any words of advice? Like, tell her how to breathe. Like, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And she just sat there and like nodded her head and like looked at you. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I can do that. I'm doing that now.
Right. And that was my experience in the hospital. I didn't have and some people have fantastic experiences with birth in the hospital. Great nurses, great knowledgeable doctors. My doctor didn't have very good bedside manner. He was very old. He was still doing things old school, routine episiotomy, just snip, without even asking me about it. Um, they dangled that epidural out like a piece of candy. Well, if you aren't feeling comfortable, if you can ask for an epidural. Like, even though I had stated that I didn't want one, it was just like, you don't get any points, mama, for not taking this. And it wasn't that I wanted points, right? I wanted a natural birth, and it didn't go like that at all. So
And it wasn't a natural birth because you were on pitocin. That's part of it.
yeah, right. They induced me with both births because, well, I lived far away and they didn't know when the baby would come. And so it was probably just better to induce so that I didn't go into labor naturally and have it on the side of the road or whatever, right?
And we
Anyway,
had no idea what that meant,
we had no
and how
idea.
that it would affect your body. Like we had no idea.
Well, they must know what they're talking about. So we went along with that. And it just wasn't um, what I thought my birth journeys would look like. And so I decided I wanted something different. The first labor was very, very long, drawn out, 36 hours or something like that. The next birth wasn't very long. They induced me at like, I want to say 9 in the morning. The baby was born at like 12:30. So that wasn't very long, but it still, I ended up with an epidural. I couldn't manage the pain of contractions from pitocin, where they crank it up and you go from, okay, I have a contraction, to, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die in a matter of minutes. And so I wanted something different. I had an older sister who had some home births, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try something different. And I went and toured the birth center, and I immediately felt like, oh yeah, this feels so much more comfortable. I didn't like the sterile environment of the hospital, and I'm an empath, so I picked up on all the energy of the sickness and the illness and the death and the fear and
And the
all of those
stress.
energies and stress that you walk into a hospital and it's all there. And I just never felt comfortable with that. I had memories of my mom being in the hospital and it being a stressful time with my last, my little sister. So all of that, when I walked into the birth center, I didn't feel any of that. I just felt totally peaceful and calm. It smelled nice. It didn't smell like sterile chemicals. I don't know. It smelled like clary sage or some herb. And the room was set up like a bedroom.
It
It
was
looked
weird. I mean, for us,
home.
having never been in that environment, it was
It,
so for me, I felt weird.
it was weird, but it felt like home, like welcoming. And I was like, this is what I want. And so when I had my third child in that environment, I knew I wanted to do that. And then we had 3 more at a birth center. So we had 4 in the birth center. But all my births were pretty fast. Once I'm in active labor, it's usually an hour and a half, and it could be longer, but for several of them, it was only an hour and a half. And so I didn't want to have, when I had my 7th, his due date was January. And in Alaska in January, it could be 40, 50 below. And I didn't want to have him on the side of the road at 50 below. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to
Because
see
that
if I
almost happened with number 3.
Right, because that almost happened. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to see if I can find a midwife who will come to me, to my home, so I can do a home birth and take away the fear and the stress. And I wanted to have a pain-free birth, and I had learned that that was possible after 6 painful births. I thought, well, if I can take away that fear and that nervousness of getting to town, getting to the hospital or the birth center, then maybe I can do this pain-free birth thing. And I found a midwife by divine intervention who came out to my house and was willing to deliver there. And I did. I got a pain-free birth, and that was amazing. And my next birth was also pain-free, unassisted. The midwife didn't make it in time, so Corey delivered that baby.
Almost
And
got them.
they're slippery. And then with my twins, we had moved to Arizona, and home birth was no problem. There were lots of midwives who would do that, but it was twins, and there's some limitations with midwives being able to attend, especially if it's mono-di twins. So 2 sacs, but 1 placenta. And I still wanted to have them at home because all the hospitals I called around to said, well, you could have them at a hospital and you can try vaginally, but it's going to have to be in an operating room and only your husband can be with you. And we wanted the kids to be there. They had been there with the other 2 home births, and it just didn't feel right. So I was able, again, by divine intervention, to find a team of midwives who were willing to take on twin birth, mono-di. They were highly trained in breech births, which was great because one of the babies was breech. And it was just
Not that any, like, not that training, it just, there was no problem with that. That was interesting.
yeah, there was no problem that he came out. It was probably my best feeling birth, right? He came out in 1 push, whole body, butt first, bam. And I'm, whoa. His brother came out head first, and I had to get his head out and then push his shoulders and the rest of him out. And it was a little more uncomfortable than that one little ball of a baby. So yeah, it wasn't a problem. But had there been a problem, they were highly trained in breech birth. And I just felt completely safe that they were competent, that they knew when and if they needed to transfer me, that they weren't the kind of midwife who was going to let a problem get out of hand because they didn't want to transfer to a hospital. It just felt really safe.
I mean,
And
looking back, it was almost like there was a divine intervention. The midwives thought they felt the baby's head, and
yeah,
it
they
was
thought
really
it
his
was
butt.
head down, and it was
So
actually
they didn't say anything to you about it because they just thought it was all normal and that
that was
everything was fine. And then when he came out, they're like, oh, he was actually breech. And so it was like there was nothing. You didn't have to try and process and work through any fears that you had regarding breech birth. You just assumed it was going to be normal, and he came out better than normal.
Yeah, and I've adopted that mindset is that the baby's going to come in whatever position is best for them to come in. And we get all carried away and worked up about, well, they're not in the correct position. I'm already 36 weeks and they're not head down. And most often the baby does, turn and come head down in a perfect position, sometimes in the middle of labor. And when they don't, I believe that may be the best case scenario for them. So for our little baby, that was the way he wanted to be born. And that was, what was best for him. And it was best for me. So, yeah, I kind of adopted that mindset. So I went from hospital births, still trying to, go all natural, which didn't end up natural at all, to home birth with twins that was completely natural, no interventions, no, not even a Tylenol or a pain med afterwards because I didn't have pain. And even my afterbirth contractions, which in the past have been more intense than even labor, didn't even have that. So it was fantastic. Was it, was it just, well, it gets easier as you have more babies? No, I had to do a lot of work mentally, emotionally. I had to do a lot of clearing of past birth traumas. So yeah, it's been
Fears.
a journey, clearing fears, following them through, letting go. Okay, worst case scenario, I die, my baby dies. Okay, and then what, right? And just working through that to now I feel like, okay, we can do this. It's possible, and it's possible for other women too. And I don't want them to feel like they're stuck doing something they aren't comfortable with or they don't want to do just because everyone says, well, that's the way it is. That's how you have to do it. That traditionally in the last 60 to 100 years of American medicine, this is how births have to go, when there's actually a totally different way. And more women are adopting that and loving it. So I'm hoping to help women also find what they want and embrace it and enjoy it, receive it.
And the thing that I'm that occurs for me is like how much more empowered you are now in the whole process. The personal empowerment you've discovered in yourself to have the birth your way, to have everything go, to be in the environment you want to be in, having had created it, first in your mind through a birth plan, and then like going and living it. And just, from our first time when like there was no power. We just, because we had no knowledge, we had no idea what to do. Like we just
didn't have
followed.
a birth plan. I didn't
Yeah.
write a birth plan.
We didn't even
I
know,
didn't
like, I don't know if you knew, but I didn't even know that was a thing. And like zero empowerment to where we just did whatever they told us, to now, like, I think it's fun to say, like, so empowered that even though we had high risk mono-di twins, we were firing doctors because they were like, if they weren't dictating to us. We were like, no, you're not the right doctor for us anymore. We're gonna move on from you. And that was, I look back with fondness on that.
Right. It was an interesting story. We had a perinatologist that was, monitoring the twins to make sure they didn't have twin-to-twin transfusion, that everything was good, that, they would be able to be born healthy and well. And they kept telling me, you can't, one wagged his finger, don't you try and have these babies at home. And I asked him questions about that. I didn't tell him I was planning to have them at home, just that I had previous home births, and, well, twins are different, so you can't have these at home. And I just nodded, okay. And well, given your birth history, everything should go just fine. Oh, okay. And well, what are the percentages? Well, 90% of the time, everything goes well, and women are able to have a vaginal birth with mono-di twins. It should go fine. But 10% of the time, there's complications. Okay, so what's the likelihood of, given my birth history, of me being in that 10%? Oh, well, it's, about 90% likely that you wouldn't have any of those. Okay, so we're not talking 10% anymore, right? Because he just said,
we're talking 10% of 10%. That's like 1%
of 10%, right? And I'm going, okay, so why are you wagging your finger at me, telling me I can't try to have these at home?
It's almost like he was trying to steal your power, right? Like he was trying to take over the process of how you we're going to have the birth go. He was trying to disempower you from how you wanted the experience you wanted to have.
He was trying to scare me, right? With, here's all the things that could go wrong. I know that. I'm aware of those. And I think it's important to be aware of that. I mean, don't go into this blindly thinking nothing could go wrong, because things could go wrong. But once you're aware of those things, and once you know what you would do in case of any of those things, then you choose, well, that's not what I want, and that's not what I'm going to manifest, and that's not what's going to happen in my birth. And that is what I did. And had any of those arisen, I would have felt confident and competent in going somewhere and seeking care for any of those issues, because I knew what they were and what the treatment is, right? But I didn't have any of those things arise, and therefore I didn't need to be in an operating room to deliver my twins.
Yeah.
Even though, contrary to popular Western medicine belief, I was able to have a set of mono-di twins at home and it was wonderful. Everything opposite of all of the things they try and tell you are going to go wrong, and it's impossible, and you wouldn't want to try that, and whatever, right? So, yeah, so we fired him. I'm sorry, we're done. Twins are fine. I'm already, I don't remember how far along, 28 weeks or something. Twin to twin transfusion drops so low after around 30 weeks. If it's not showing up by then, it's possible it could, but if it's not, you're probably good. I felt confident. I had prayed and I felt like, yep, we're going to be good. So we fired those guys and we went with a much more holistic minded ultrasound tech who, not that those are even necessary, but just for positioning to make sure nobody had any tangling or any problems. And at 36 weeks, everything was fantastic. They hadn't had any issues with their growth or anything. So felt okay, this is a go. And she was encouraging and helpful. The midwives were encouraging and helpful. And I was so grateful to have that environment. Yeah, you can do this. Here's all of the, things that are possible versus here's all the no's and here's all the can'ts and here's all the shoulds and
The have tos.
the have tos. And I'm not, I'm not a rebel, but I also don't, who does like being told what you have to do? I don't like to be told what I have to do and what I can or can't do. I'd like to have possibilities. And when I have a birth team surrounding me of here's all the possibilities and let's go create them, that felt empowering, but it also felt peaceful. It also felt like, yeah, that's what I want.
Because when it comes down to it, I think to highlight, like, what do you think has been the most important to you throughout this whole process? Can you put words to that?
Yeah, I think bringing back my personal power has been really important. I want to parent my children. I want to raise my children how I feel. God sent them to me. I don't want to raise them how other people tell me I should, I need to, I have to. I want to use my own intuition, discretion to decide what feels best, how I should bring them into the world, how I should raise them, how I should send them off into the world as they exit the home. I want them to feel that they have a certain level of autonomy. And if I don't feel that I have a certain level of autonomy, how can I send them off into the world with autonomy if I'm still asking all the authorities around me what I should be doing, how I should be parenting? So I think that's been a part of the journey, is building my own self-confidence and personal power to know what I want. And that's my goal, is not to tell other women what they should do, what they have to do, but to help them discover their own style, their own desire for what their life as a mother is going to look like.
Yeah, I totally feel like what we have to offer is just giving evidence, demonstrations and sharing stories about what's possible. So helping women know that it is possible to have a pain-free birth, and so many other wonderful possibilities that we were ignorant to. And along with that, helping women become empowered to then create those experiences for themselves according to what they want to experience.
Absolutely.
So let's move on here. The healthifiedmother.com is your website, and it's existed for a number of years. And I'm going to pull it up because we're just going to go over. What we're doing right now is a bit of a relaunch of the Healthified Mother website. And so let me pull it up, and we're just going to kind of go through it. There we are.
Yeah.
So Christy, you just give me instructions on where to go and just talk about the website. And I think I'll start with just kind of scrolling down here. And maybe you can tell people too, like, what these are pictures of.
Okay, so that's me with our sixth baby. He was born at a birth center, but right after we got home, we took some family photos there in our bedroom, and that was just a very peaceful and empowering photo session for me, because I wasn't in a studio. I was just there in my room, hanging out on the bed, recovering, and, capturing those first few days with baby.
And here we go. I'll read this unless you want to read it.
Go ahead.
So this is you introducing yourself. Maybe you should read it because it says I.
It's so tiny I can't see it from.
Oh, that's true. Okay. I desire to help give others the knowledge and tools they need to heal, to receive what they desire in life, and to enjoy motherhood and pregnancy. I am continually learning how our bodies work and how amazing they are at fixing themselves when given the right guidance and ingredients. Our bodies know how to function correctly. I believe that if we can remove blocks and negative beliefs and patterns and give our bodies the correct nutrients they need, our bodies have the potential to do their jobs perfectly. I have a bachelor's degree in education, and I love to teach and to learn. I have studied anatomy, holistic nutrition, intuitive work, several different modalities, and I'm a mother of 10 children. My last 4 babies, including a set of identical twins, were born at home, pain-free. No medication before or after, because I didn't need it. It was calm and peaceful and amazing. I help women before conception and all the way through each stage of pregnancy and postpartum via video sessions, breath work, setting new intentions, and mindset coaching, and creating and manifesting desires. I love to paint and incorporate painting into my healing work. I work with children and adults for any number of issues, but my specialty is pregnancy and beyond. I am passionate about helping my family live a healthy lifestyle. I excel at kid-friendly, budget-friendly, and time-saving healthy meals. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist, and I'm always studying to find natural ways to help my family thrive. All right. And who is this a picture of there?
We've got our 2-year-old and one of our twins. And me.
Those are our most recent family photos. Okay, so I want to go, maybe I'll read one of the testimonials. There's a lot of great testimonials. Is this first one the one that you think I should read?
Sure.
All right, we'll go to some testimonials of previous clients. I have watched all 3 of Christy's morning sickness videos. I followed along and focused. Whoa, that's okay.
Short. Sorry.
That was my thumb hovered too close to the touch screen and then it moved. So I'm gonna hands off. I followed along and focused on connecting with my baby, which felt good. The biggest realization for me was how my fears were causing my nausea. Listening to Christy talk about fears causing morning sickness, I immediately knew that's what was happening with me. After finishing the videos, I used Christy's method of scribbling to release my fears. After, I immediately felt better, and the next day was my first time since feeling sick that I had no nausea or body aches. And even though I was tired, I still had energy and I didn't feel run down. And I no longer have those fears. And I feel calm as I look forward to my pregnancy and delivery. Oh, I think there must be a timer on there. I'm so grateful for Christy. I would 100% recommend her to anyone struggling with morning sickness. This is Shalina, 8 weeks pregnant with her 5th baby. So the morning sickness, why don't we go there next, right? Since she brought it up, Shalina. I'm going to click on the morning sickness.
There you go.
So I don't think I'm going to read all of this. Reading everything will take too long. But why don't you introduce why we have this specific page about morning sickness?
So I believe that no woman should have to struggle needlessly with morning sickness when in the majority of cases, it's kind of a simple fix. So connecting mother up to all parts of the baby, connecting the baby up to all parts of the mother. It's a bit of a process, but once it's done, that alone fixes the majority of morning sickness issues. And then the other, issues are mindset stuff, fears, worries, beliefs. Morning sickness is supposed to happen to me. I'm supposed to feel sick. All my mom, my sisters, my aunties, whatever, they all felt sick, so I'm supposed to have that too. Or even maybe it's like a badge of courage. Like I am not one of them until I've suffered through a birth, right?
This is my initiation into motherhood.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
get to suffer.
I'm not a true woman if I haven't felt the pain of childbirth or the morning sickness or the drudgery of pregnancy, right? I don't think any of that is necessary, and I don't want women to suffer just because, we have these cultural expectations or beliefs. So I have a paint to heal session. You do not have to paint along in order to receive the benefit. That's more, that's my creative expression, as well as more of an entertainment piece for the healing sessions. So watch it, receive the same benefits as if you choose to paint along. If you love watercolor or you want to try it, go for it. I did give a little instruction, but I am not an art teacher. So this isn't a painting class. This is a healing morning sickness session. And so scroll down. If after the first video you're still struggling a bit with morning sickness, I have 3 more modules that go kind of in depth. I work with one of my clients who was suffering from morning sickness, a little bit more severe of a issue, and this is the 3 videos that Shalina was talking about. After watching all 3 of these, she was like, okay,
because you hadn't done the paint to heal one yet.
I hadn't. And so the paint to heal one doesn't go as in depth because those are 3 more hours of explanation, whatever. But the paint to heal one, for many women, that'll be enough.
And so you mentioned that for most women, the issue causing morning sickness is a lack of connection to the baby. And so that's what this session is about, is connecting with baby. But can you give a definition? Like, what do you mean? What does that even mean to connect with something? I mean, the baby's connected to you already. Like, what does it mean to connect with the baby?
So there are mental, emotional, and physical connections. And if any of those 3 areas are not connected, let's say if the baby's spirit isn't connected to your spirit, you could feel some nausea and discomfort. If your physical body, their placenta isn't completely attached to your physical body, if their umbilical cord isn't connected to your mind, like your subconscious mind isn't registering the umbilical cord, like there's a lot of different ways to connect up, and we think, well, I don't think about that consciously. Of course we don't. So if we aren't thinking about that consciously, we're having all these morning sickness issues, but they're from patterns in our subconscious mind. So this goes a little deeper than just consciously thinking about our baby. Yep, I'm connected to my baby. Yeah, I can feel him moving around. Like, no, it's a lot more deep. And especially in the first few weeks when people are feeling morning sickness, typically in their first trimester, you can't feel the baby moving at all. It's too small. So that doesn't mean your body doesn't sense it. That doesn't mean that your hormone levels don't change. You can get a positive pregnancy test. So there's stuff happening, but you're not feeling the physical movement, but you're feeling physical effects like nausea and tiredness and fatigue and whatever. So helping your subconscious mind and connect with your conscious mind, as well as all of the parts of the baby and all of the parts of the female reproductive system.
The placenta,
the umbilical cord, the amniotic fluid, the the fetus when it's just a tiny little zygote, etc. So just connecting all of that is what I do in that session. And then I do work through some fears and beliefs in the morning sickness session as well.
Like common fears and common beliefs.
Yeah.
I thought so for me, I thought it was such a beautifully intuitive concept when we learned. I don't remember, maybe you can say this after my comment here, how you learned about this issue of connecting. But like, I thought it was so beautifully intuitive to describe the cause of morning sickness as being that your body was like, there's something in here. I don't know what it is. So what is the body's natural reaction? Is like, well, try and throw it up and get it out. Like, cause it's an unknown foreign object. It's like, well, okay. That seems so, I don't know, to me, it just seems so beautifully intuitive to describe morning sickness as that lack of connection, that lack of knowingness down to your core, that there's a new life there and it's meant to be there. It's part of you for a short period of time, but it's meant to be there. And so like that, some women have longer periods of morning sickness, but it's that period of time of like, eventually women connect with and like mentally, emotionally, spiritually with the baby, and then like the morning sickness goes away. But you can accelerate that. Like I thought that was so
and we learned some of that from Dr. Bradley Nelson, who
I remember
created the body code, the emotion code. But I've kind of expanded.
Great book, The Emotion Code. Go read it.
Fantastic. I've expanded on that, and I do a little different. So some of the stuff that I do is things I learned from Dr. Nelson, but then there's a little more to it. And it's an interesting story is when I was pregnant with the twins, before I knew it was twins, I was having morning sickness and I was not able to clear it. And I was frustrated because I had cleared it with my last two births just fine. And I'm thinking, what's wrong? Like, have I lost my gift? Come on, I can't connect to these babies, or to this baby, right? And so I was just a little frustrated because I didn't have super severe morning sickness, but I had it enough that it was, affecting my executive function throughout the day. And once I learned that I was having twins around 9 weeks, and I typically have morning sickness from about 7 weeks to 12 weeks. Well, with the twins, I started having morning sickness at like 5 weeks. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to go to 12 weeks. Like, this is not good. But at around 9 weeks, when I found out it was twins, once I was able to connect to two bodies, right? Two little babies, two little sacs, two little umbilical cords, and all that, it was gone. And so that was just, sort of a mental block there, is I was connecting everything up, but I didn't know there
were
was
only
two.
Doing half the work. And maybe not even half the work. It was like a little bit over here and a little bit over here, and like,
yeah, who knows which baby I was connecting up, but it wasn't really working because I didn't know there were two, right? So once I had that piece of information, then I was able to clear it, and I didn't have to have morning sickness all the way till 12 weeks. 9 weeks, done. So that was 4 weeks of morning sickness. That was not fun. But once I knew it was twins, I was able to clear it. So, yeah.
Beautiful. So let's go back to this view here. So now we're going to go to the newest section of the website here, recorded sessions. This is where we've been spending a great deal of time. It's a work in progress, but like, let's talk about what we've got here.
So we have several paint to heal sessions here, and this is same with the morning sickness one. I am painting. You do not have to paint along. If you choose to, great. I'd love to see your paintings. But you can watch me paint as we go through. We do different exercises. I incorporate some EFT tapping. I do breath work, mindset, belief work, grounding techniques, clearing trapped emotions, just a lot of different types of healing work. Some sound therapy, some color therapy, chakra work, right? Just a lot of different techniques I've picked up over the years that have helped me in my life as a mother, and I'm helping share that with others.
And helped our children.
And have helped our children and many clients and friends and family. So, like the chakra, balancing your chakras, I go through, teach you how to balance your chakras. You watch the video, you do the breath work and the things in there, and that helps you to be able to balance your chakras. Clearing birth traumas, that's another session I did where most of us, even if we haven't had a baby yet, we have birth trauma from our own birth. We have birth trauma from all the stories we've heard, all the media we've seen of women screaming their heads off, beating their husband, you did this to me. All of the trauma that can surround birth, and clearing that so that you can have a lovely, calm, peaceful, even pain-free, even feel-good birth. So that session, I think, will be really helpful for a lot of women.
Right.
We are just going to keep creating more and more sessions. So right now, I think we're around 10. And they're
not all up on the website. There's only 5 so far, and these ones specifically, like you have the morning sickness is completely free. It's our gift to all pregnant women. Is
everybody should have that
and
for free.
Like no woman needs suffer through morning sickness needlessly. Granted, there's going to be those cases where it's super stubborn, but like you said, how wonderful would it be if that majority of cases where morning sickness is just a simple aspect of connecting with the baby.
Right.
Watch a few of your videos and clear it. And anytime it comes back, watch it again and clear it again. And that's our gift to the world. Right. And then we have, and there's a few more recorded things here that are things that are free. Group clearing session for writing blocks. This is like one of your first paint healing nights. And this was a video of one of your first pain-free births. And but what we've been working on is these recorded sessions that we're going to be
available
selling.
They're available on the website for rent or to purchase. So if you rent it, that's $15 to rent. That's like a one-time, you watch it, you'll have 72 hours to watch it. So maybe you watch it 2 or 3 times in a row. If it's something that you feel like, you know what, I'm going to need this session again. I really enjoy this session. I think I'm going to use it multiple times. You have the opportunity to purchase it for $45. And our prices will vary depending on different sessions, but that's kind of standard.
And depending on, when we have sales and things
right,
like that.
Sure. Sales and different things as well. So
as we engage in marketing strategies like every business.
Right. So we have, a grounding session teaching you how to ground, what grounding is, why we ground, and then exercises that I walk you through on how to ground yourself. Fear of miscarriage. This is for women who have experienced a miscarriage, who struggle with fertility, who are afraid of, every time they get pregnant, they're going to have a miscarriage again. This is for women who have never had one, but are afraid that they might have one. It's just to help you clear all of those fears and worries and to kind of heal and process the effects of a miscarriage, because that's a major traumatic event in a woman's life. Even if she was just a few weeks along, it's still a major traumatic event, and it needs to be addressed, and there's some work that can be done for healing that. So, yeah.
Right. And then this last one, manifesting your desires.
Desires, that's just teaching the principles there of manifesting. So there's like 8 laws that if you follow, it works every time. It's like a formula. If you have 2 plus 2, you get 4 every time. And anytime that I have followed it and it hasn't worked, it's because I didn't actually follow it correctly. So every time that I have followed it, if I follow those principles, if I apply them, it works. So I've learned how to manifest all sorts of things in life, from the house we're currently living in to twins to much smaller things like finding my keys, or a parking spot, right? Finding an open parking spot in a super crowded parking lot, right? So
yeah, and I was gonna say the reason I put this picture of you holding the twins is because we did manifest having twins. It was
right.
It was something that we prayed for, and we thought about before you were pregnant for months. Like, we were trying to go through those 8 laws of manifesting to have twins, and boom,
And
there's the
it worked.
evidence that it worked. So,
It worked.
we're going to have an hour-long podcast here, and I can tell that our time is almost up because our children are getting louder. That means they've had almost an hour without mom and dad's presence, and the volume, their volume outside the rooms here is increasing. So as we close up, like, what would you like to say in closing for our first podcast? What would you like to say?
Well, we are going to continue these. They're going to be a weekly podcast. We're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about, we're going to invite guests on to talk about all things mother and parenting and pregnancy related. We are going to have a question and answer session once a month. And sometimes we might even do a live paint to heal session on a topic that we poll the audience for. So, hey, what do you want to work on this month? Oh, well, I'm struggling with weight loss or whatever it is. Okay, well, that's the topic we're going to work and do a paint to heal live session. So we will be continually doing podcasts once a week, and then releasing more and more video sessions that can be rented or purchased on the website. And I am cutting back on my personal one-on-one sessions, but those are still available for who knows how much longer.
Limited time.
Yeah, a limited time. And then, we hope to carry on from there and just expand to help more and more families. We eventually want to do healing retreats where we are, working with a group of women, or even, couples, parenting retreats, couple retreats, pregnancy retreats for the first trimester, for the second, however that expands, that's, in the future. But that's our vision, is we want to be able to reach and help so many people in real life, but also we realize our time is limited, so we're trying to just do as much as we can via the recorded sessions and the podcasts.
So this is by no means this has not been by any means a comprehensive review of the Healthified Mother website, or the Healthified Mother as a company, and what we're doing now and what we're going to be doing moving forward, because it's too much to explain in an hour. But for those of you who have joined us now or in the future, thanks for watching. Feel free to jump on the healthifiedmother.com. And if you have questions, or if you have ideas or suggestions for how we might empower and help women more, or help you, feel free to share with us your ideas and your thoughts. And so we're going to close out this. Well, we don't have an intro yet, and we don't have an outro. So it's just a thank you for watching. Thank you for being present.